The prophecy drops like a blade through glass. One moment, humans and Simurians are sharing space, tentatively building something that looks like peace. The next, a Simurian voice cuts through the calm with words that freeze everyone in place. Coexistence is a lie, death is inevitable, and the slaughter is already written. Not a threat, a prediction. Cold, clinical, delivered with the certainty of someone who's seen the future and knows there's no changing it. Chapter 11 doesn't ease into darkness, it detonates it. What looked like progress, like maybe these two groups could find common ground despite everything, shatters in a single conversation. The tension doesn't build gradually, it's instant, suffocating. Human characters react with shock, denial, fear. The Simurian who speaks doesn't gloat, doesn't seem pleased, just resigned. Like they're reading an obituary that hasn't been written yet, but will be soon. And the visual storytelling hammers it home. Faces drained of hope, backgrounds turning oppressive, dialogue cutting sharper with every panel. Then there's the new figure introduced at the chapter's edge. Barely shown, barely explained, but positioned in a way that screams catalyst. Someone or something that's going to push this prophecy from ominous warning into brutal reality. Fans are spiraling because this isn't set up for a distant conflict. This feels immediate, like the next chapter could explode into violence, betrayals, massacres that were inevitable the moment these two groups tried to pretend they could share the same world. But that's just the start. Here's how it all unravels. Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo has been walking a tightrope between hope and horror since its early chapters. Simurians, beings tied to ancient conflicts and cursed energy dynamics that predate modern sorcery, represent something humanity can't fully understand or control. Earlier chapters hinted at friction, at historical wounds that never healed. But Chapter 5 specifically planted seeds suggesting that peace between humans and Simurians was fragile at best. Now Chapter 11 confirms what fans feared. That fragility is about to snap. The chapter opens with what feels like genuine cultural exchange. Humans and Simurians interacting, learning about each other, tentatively lowering defenses. It's the kind of scene that makes you hopeful, that suggests maybe the series will subvert expectations and show these groups finding common ground. Then the prophecy hits. A Simurian, calm, matter-of-fact, lays out the future. This peace is temporary. Massive casualties are coming, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. Not a declaration of war, just acknowledgement that war is inevitable, like predicting the sunrise. The human characters react in ways that feel viscerally real. Shock, denial, desperate attempts to rationalize or argue against what they've just heard. But the Simurian doesn't engage, doesn't argue, just restates the certainty of what's coming. And that lack of emotion makes it more terrifying. It's not hatred driving this, it's something colder. Inevitability. The idea that these two groups trying to coexist is fighting against fundamental incompatibility. And eventually, reality will correct the mistake violently. The mysterious new figure introduced toward the chapter's end adds another layer of dread. We don't know who they are, what side they're on, or what their role will be. But their positioning in the narrative, appearing right after the prophecy, suggests they're either the trigger or the first casualty. Someone whose actions or existence will push the fragile peace into open conflict. Fans are already speculating. Are they a Simurian extremist who'll provoke violence to fulfill the prophecy? A human radical who'll attack first out of fear? Or something else entirely? A third party manipulating both sides toward mutual destruction? The thematic weight ties back to Jujutsu Kaisen's core obsessions. Cycles of cursed energy, hatred that regenerates across generations, and the question of whether violence is ever truly escapable or just paused between outbreaks. Modulo is taking those themes and scaling them to existential levels, asking whether different species or groups with fundamentally different relationships to cursed energy can ever share space without one eventually trying to erase the other. The prophecy itself functions as more than plot setup. It's psychological warfare. By declaring the future fixed, the Simurian isn't just predicting violence. They're potentially causing it. If both sides believe conflict is inevitable, they'll start preparing for it. Preparation creates suspicion. Suspicion creates preemptive strikes. Preemptive strikes fulfill the prophecy. Fans are theorizing this might be intentional, that the prophecy is a self-fulfilling curse, literally weaponizing fatalism to guarantee the war it predicts. If someone wanted to ensure humans and Simurians destroy each other, convincing both sides that peace is impossible would be the perfect method. The question becomes, who benefits from that mutual destruction? The human characters' reactions reveal how unprepared they are for existential conflict. These aren't hardened soldiers or ancient sorcerers who've seen civilizations fall. They're people who thought progress was possible, that understanding could overcome history. The prophecy doesn't just threaten their lives, it threatens their worldview. The idea that effort and goodwill might be meaningless against fundamental incompatibility is soul-crushing. Watch for future chapters showing how different characters respond to that despair. Some might radicalize, deciding they need to strike first. Others might double down on peace efforts, refusing to accept inevitability. That split could fracture the human side before the Simurians even make a move. The mysterious new figure is positioned as a wildcard that could accelerate or prevent the prophecy. If they're a manipulator who's been engineering this conflict from the shadows, the next arc might reveal a conspiracy deeper than simple racial tension. Someone using both sides as pawns in a larger game. If they're genuinely trying to prevent the war, they'll face the impossible task of convincing two groups who've just been told their coexistence is doomed that they can change fate. Either way, their introduction right after the prophecy is narratively charged. They're not a random addition. They're the match near the powder keg, and whether they light it or smother it will define the series' direction. The connection to cursed energy cycles adds a layer of horror for longtime Jujutsu Kaisen fans. The original series established that cursed energy is born from human negative emotions, creating a feedback loop where fear and hatred generate the very threats that justify more fear and hatred. If Simurians function on similar principles, if their existence or power is tied to human emotions in ways we don't fully understand, then the prophecy might be literally energizing the conflict. The more humans fear Simurians, the more cursed energy is generated. The more cursed energy exists, the more dangerous Simurians become. The more dangerous Simurians become, the more justified human fear seems. It's a cycle that can't be broken from within, only from someone recognizing the pattern and disrupting it at the source. The visual storytelling in Chapter 11 emphasizes claustrophobia and dread in ways that suggest the psychological state of the world is already collapsing. Backgrounds losing detail, faces shown in stark shadow, dialogue panels cutting away from speakers to show the impact of words rather than the speakers themselves. It's a chapter that feels like suffocation, like the walls are closing in and there's no escape. That visual language is telling us the war isn't coming, it's already here psychologically. The violence is just the physical manifestation of a conflict that's already consuming everyone mentally. If this theory about the self-fulfilling prophecy proves true, if the mysterious figure is revealed as either the architect or the last hope against this conflict, the next chapters won't be about whether war happens. They'll be about whether anyone survives it with their humanity intact, and whether the cycle of cursed energy and hatred can ever be broken, or if Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo is about to show us what happens when that cycle reaches its inevitable, apocalyptic conclusion.